Technical difficulties.
Can you hear us at least? No, I don't want.
You know what we did over here?
No, I got us.
What is that?
This is this, but this is on my phone.
Well, you should got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
Does your dad have it now? Because I have it on my
check
phone.
it. You have it? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, people have it. Okay. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for helping out with the technical issues and apologize for the couple minutes that we're starting a little late because of the technical issues. I want to thank Ari Schiff and also Rafi for helping organize the pizza on this end, and looking forward to a great year together with the guys who are here and the parents who had the pleasure of learning with their children over the last week to prepare for this year. The truth is, I had a difficult time choosing a topic because there's so many important topics when coming up to Pesach in what to choose. I thought about charoset, a nice fun shiur, but I decided on a shiur that I thought was very fundamental for the Seder, specifically also connected to the learning Torah experience that guys here have experienced, and that is the sugya called Shomea Ka'onet, where when you listen, it's as if you've answered. And as the introduction, as we know that the Leil Seder has a lot to do with the transition of us achieving what true chirut is, true freedom. Being able to have the metamorphosis from avdut to chirut. And I thought as the introduction, as we know, that there are different ways to be sold in the times of the Tanakh, in Parshat Mishpatim, of being an eved. If you stole from somebody, you then became an eved. If you couldn't afford to live as a free person, you would sell yourself as an eved. Now what's interesting is that if you wanted to remain an eved, the Torah at the beginning of Parshat Mishpatim says that if you wanted to continue being an eved, your master that would then take you to the delet or the mezuzah, to the doorpost, what would he do? What would he do? Pierce your ear. And already Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in the Midrash asked, why the piercing of the ear? So if you're the person who stole because of the Chazal tell us, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, the ear that heard on Har Sinai not to steal is the person who just stole. And then the other interpretation is if you sold yourself, the Midrash says that when you heard that Kili b'nei Yisrael avadi, that we are supposed to be servants to Hashem, only to Hashem. Avadai hein v'lo avadim avadim. There's something about the ear, about listening, that is brought down from this Chazal that has a very, very profound impact on being an Eved. Being able to hear properly helps us understand, and it affects us a tremendous amount in how to be truly free. And within this introduction, I wanted to enter into a halachic sugya with you, which is a major sugya. We're going to choose around 4 of the major topics and really focus only on 2 of the topics, be'iyun, really in depth together with you, where the highlights are going to be Kriyat Shema is going to be the main one, and really obviously for Sifur Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Haggadah of this halachic sugya of Shomea Kohen. Let's define, as you may have learned the sources together, what is Shomea Kohen. First source in front of you, in the Gemara in Sukkah, and Daf Lamechet Amud Bet, the Gemara describes Itmar Nami, Omer Rav Shimon ben Pazi, Omer Rav Shimon ben Levi, the Gemara in Sukkah Lamechet Amud Bet, Omer Rav Yeshua ben Levi Mishum Bar Kapara, Minayin l'Shomea Kohen. From where do we know that Shomea is Ka'ona. What is Shomea Ka'ona? Where do I know that if you listen, it's as if, say hello to all of your children, Minayin l'Shomea Ka'ona. The Gemara in Sukkah on Lamed Chet Amud Bet wants to know, when I'm listening, even though I'm waving my hands now, when you're listening, it's as if you've actually answered. The Gemara quotes from Malachim Bet, Perek of Bet, the psukim that are pretty famous in the idea that, because we read it about it by Yoshiyahu in the time of the Lamentations by Eicha, where Yoshiyahu was a very, very righteous king. And what happens? They found what they call a sefer. And the truth is, it wasn't actually the sefer, but what was it? They opened up to the sefer and specifically to the Tochacha. And there, the psukim say that Shafan, the Sofer, read this Tochacha. And the Gemara asks, the psukim later on say that Shafan didn't read it, but really Yoshio read it. Who read it? V'chi Yoshio Karan? Did Yoshio really read the Sefer? Alo Shafan Karan. Tichti Vayikra'eu Shafan Lifnei HaMelech. From here we learn the principle that even though it says that Shafan read it, Mikan l'Shomea Ka'ona, that even if I didn't actually say it, it says if I said it because I heard it. And anytime we have this Ke'ona, this idea of like hearing, it's a question that you have to ask. How literally do you take that it's Ke'ona? Do we view halachically when I'm listening to something with this ear, it's as if I'm actually talking, there's dibur, or is it only idea of what? The question, not that it's actual dibur mamash, but what is the other side of the idea? Help me out. It's not that I'm actually talking like I'm talking now, but rather it's what? I'm mitzdarif. I join together with the person that's talking, but all I'm doing is listening. And the major ideas that come up at the nafkamina, a practical difference, comes up on every single day, which is you saw this machlokas between Rashi and the Ri in front of you. For those people that like davening along Shmoneh Esrei, this comes up a lot. And we know that when we're talking about davening along Shmoneh Esrei, that doesn't mean you're more from. A lot of times people think they daven along Shmoneh Esrei because they want to look more from. But who knows what's going on in their heads? And we know that the Gemara, describes that we can have tefillah as short as Kel Na Refana La, 5 words, and that's a good tefillah. And you can have a 40 days long of tefillah. So we've all matured in our idea of tefillah. Just because a person has a long Shmoneh Esrei, I shouldn't be looking and saying, let me care about the Joneses, but hopefully have a real religious experience of talking to Hashem. So let's say somebody had a long Shmoneh Esrei, and that's the halachic question that comes up with Shomea Ka'ona. When I am listening, how much is this as if I'm actually talking or not? And this comes up both in Kedusha or Yehei Shmei Rabbah. This is what Rashi brings down in the source, right in front of you in the second source. When I am saying Shmoneh Esrei, what do I do? Some people, it happens here. The Shlach Tzibur, I daven faster than you have, and then you're going back. What do you do if you're stuck right in the middle of your Shmoneh Esrei? So what does Rashi say to do? Rashi says, stop and listen. Hey, Shomeh, listen. And what? And have in mind, he says, listen with kavanah. And that shmiya is good enough. And he says, he adds the word, Barei Hain Ke'onim. It's as if you've now answered. You're quiet. You're in the middle of your silent Shmoneh Esrei. You're up to Baruch Atah Hashem Bonei Yerushalayim in your own personal Shmoneh Esrei, Jacob. And then what? And then the Chazan gets up to Baruch Atah Hashem Mechayei Meitim. You start saying Nekadesh Shemcha or Naktishach. What do I do? Says Rashi, what do you do? And this is how we paskin la halacha. What do? You stop, you listen, and you are mitzdaref to whom? To the Shliach Tzibur. Tosfos disagrees. Tosfos in source number 3, after quoting Rashi, says, the first opinion he says, maybe Rashi's right, but l'chachila, you shouldn't do it that way. However, he quotes Rabbeinu Tam in the third source in front of you, and he says, Adarab, if we're going to use the mechanism of Shomea Ke'oneh, you cannot just stare. The Chazan gets up to Baruch Atah Hashem Bonei Yerushalayim. You get up to, Bonei Yerushalayim. If you stop, what does Tosfos say? It is what? A hefsek. Havi hafsakayim shotek. If I stop, it's considered a hefsek. It's an interruption. Because Shomea Ke'oneh, as opposed to Rashi, who says Shomea when I'm listening is only Ke'oneh, Tosfos understands that the kid, don't take it like light. It's as if I'm actually talking. I am talking. Halachically, I'm talking, even though I'm listening. It's as if I am talking, and therefore it'd be an interruption. I'm in the middle of my own personal silent Shmona Esrei. And now, all of a sudden, I start saying Kedusha, and that's considered a hefsek. So we have a fundamental machloket, how this halachic mechanism works of Shomea Ke'oneh. Rashi says it is considered not like dibur mamash, not actually speaking, but you're listening. It's as if you are mitzaref, you are mechaber, you connect yourself to the shliach dibur. Tosfos disagrees. One other machloket of it, where this applies to possibly, is by birchot kriyat shema. Here, in the next couple of sources, you saw that the idea that is skipping for a second the Megillah source, which we'll get back to in a second. The beginning, the first Mishnah in Shas says, Me'imatai korin et shema be'arvim. From when do you read Shema for the nighttime during Tfilat Ma'ariv? At the time when the Kohanim would come to eat Truma, Tzeit HaKochavim. The Vilna Gaon points out, look at the contrast between Me'imatai korin et shema ba'arvim and in the fourth Mishnah, the last source on the first page, where it says Bashachar mivarich shtayim lefanea ve'achat la'achareha. Already we see the difference, says the Vilna Gaon, between Birchot Kriyat Shema and Kriyat Shema. What's the difference? That in Kriyat Shema, korin is the lashon rabim. It's everybody saying it. Verses in what? In Birchot Kriyat Shema, it's in Lashon Yachid, it's in the singular. Because by Birchot Kriyat Shema, we have the same mechanism of Shomea Ke'oneh working, whether it's like Tosfos, like Rashi, works. But already we see by Kriyat Shema, we're going to see that one distinction, or one clear chiluk, and also versus Megillah. And that was the source that I skipped. And again, the first Mishnah in Masechet Megillah, that says Megillah is what? Nikret. We just finished Purim, where we had, in theory, many days. We celebrate a lot of days of Purim, but in the times of the Mishnah, they had different ideas of going earlier on for different reasons, and you have different days that you can read Purim. You don't have to. Rashi says that when it says Megillah is read on the days 11, 12, 13, 14, don't think of a chovah to read all those days. You have an option to read those days. The language of the Mishnah is Megillah Nikret, which means what? Megillah is read, for those people who love the Hebrew language. Nikret is in Lashon Nif'al, which is what? Passive. The Ritva points out, one of the great Rishonim points out, look at the Mishnah right after that, which we just quoted. The first Mishnah in Brachot doesn't say Nikret, but what does it say? Me'ematai Korin. So the Ritva wants to know why is one in a passive language and one is not in a passive language. Why by Megillah does it say that it is read versus in Kriyat Shema where it says what? We read. It should have said Megillah. We read Korin at the Megillah. What is the difference when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi redacted this Mishnah and he uses this language? What is he trying to tell us? The Ritva, in the second to last source on the first page, is one of the major sources which we're going to deal with tonight, quoting the Yerushalmi. He explains, Ha'dikani lishna the Megillah nikret, v'loktani lishna the Korin et Megillah, as it says in Masechet Brachot, Korin et Shema, Because Megillah, we can use the mechanism seemingly of Shomei HaKaonim. Dehacha kriya achat she'echad korei v'kulam b'shmiya. One person can read, as many of us do, and many of us listen because of Shomei HaKaonim. Ma'ashe'en kein b'kriyat shema. By kriyat shema, this doesn't seem to work. She'kol echad mehem chayav l'kro. You have to read it. The Mishnah emphasizes me'ematai korin. You have to read. U'lishanim b'piv. Ve'ein echad motziem v'afilu b'tzibur. Now, who is this problematic for? The Yerushalmi, and how the Ritva understands it, is that what? That by Kriyat Shema, you need to say. It's not enough to have this mechanism of me listening to the Shliach Tzibur saying Kriyat Shema. I have to say it myself. Now, if we hold, who's this going to be good for and who's this going to be problematic for? If we go back to our original idea by Rashi and Tosfot of how Shomei HaKaonim works, according to Tosfot, is this going to be good or bad? It's going to be bad. Because according to Tosfot, what was the reason why I can't stand quietly during the Chazarat HaShat? Because Shomei is Kedibur, Ke'onim Mamish. I'm talking. So here I should be able, it's halachic Dibur. It's halachically like I'm talking. That's why we said it's a hefsek. So too over here, let me listen, and halachically, let me say that what? It's as if I'm saying Kriyat Shema. Versus, so then we got to answer up for Tosfot. Rashi wouldn't be a problem. Because according to Rashi, who says that Shomei HaKaonim is not real Dibur Mamash. It's halachically, it's as if can't. I keep people awake. You got to listen. Right? But it's not actually speaking. So I understand why, according to Rashi, Kriyat Shema won't work. Because I'm not actually speaking. So we have a bomb question possibly. Why, according to Tosfot, we cannot use this mechanism by Kriyat Shema. Let's put it aside. I will ask you why you think it doesn't work by Kriyat Shema as we move ahead. One other piece. Let's get to the Seder. If we turn to the next source. This is, should I get to the Seder? One more second. Before we get to the Seder, let's get to one other source, and that's the Beit HaLevi. One other mitzvah, then we'll get to the Seder. The Beit HaLevi, Rav Yosef Dov HaLevi Soloveitch, name should sound familiar. This is not the Rav. The Rav was named after him. The Rav, the ones we know, the Rav. Now, for people in Yeshivat Hakotel, it's extremely confusing. There's the Rav. Meaning I'm in Paragon's office, we have read it also, but that's, let's not confuse too much. Okay? There's Harav, there's the Rebbe. Okay. The point is, Harav is Zichron Tzadik Livracha. The Rav is Rav Yosef Dov HaLevi Soloveitch, Zichron Tzadik Livracha, who lived from 1903 to died in 1993. And this is the Beis HaLevi, which was his great-grandfather. And this is who he was named after, the Beis HaLevi. Who was the Beis HaLevi? Who was his son? Rav Chaim, the Rav's grandfather. And Rav Chaim's son was Rav Moshe Soloveitch. Good. You're paying me money for it. Good. And who's his uncle, the Rav? What's his name? Oh, come on! Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitch, or Grizz is good, or Rav Zelda. Okay, good. We're getting there. Okay. Brisker. People are starting to call already. Enough with I came for a shiur, not just for a family trip. Okay. So it says the Beis HaLevi, now we get to Birchas Kohanim. Can one Kohen get up and say the bracha for everybody else and now just listen? That's the question. That there's a machlokes, the Beis HaLevi and the Chazon Ish. The Beis HaLevi is right in front of you. Now, what's the question? The truth is, the Beis HaLevi says it would be very nice if that could actually work. There was actually in the Hagioni Halacha, the Sefer Hagioni Halacha by Rav Mirsky, he brought up that in Europe there was a story, people coming into a community, and there was a Kohen, they wanted to give him a kibbutz. You go and you do the Birchas Kohanim for everybody. Now you might ask me, how are you doing Birchas Kohanim outside of Eretz Yisrael? Go look at other halachic shilos about Birchas Kohanim in Eretz Yisrael Chutz La'aretz. Maybe it was on Yontif, who knows what. Okay, now, Says the Beis Halevi, if we would be able to use the mechanism of Shomea Koneh, it would explain the Mishnah in the Seches Megillah on Daf Chavdal that says that the Kohen Hamaftir ben Navi who Poreis al Shema, excuse me, the who in a singular language don't say it kapaf. Why would the Mishnah Daf Chavdal say that he singularly as a maftir to reward? Many people don't like to do the maftir. So even at the times of the Mishnah, they didn't like getting the Hakotel. So they had to give him what we call an Israel chuparim, which is what rewards. Nowadays a reward is like a challenge for them. It was like the reward would be to like do the birchas kohanim. So this guy would do the one birchas kohanim to be motzi others. So says the Beis Halevi, if Shomea Kohanim would work, it's beautiful. And the truth is, the Chazon Ish says it doesn't. The Chazon Ish says by birchas kohanim we can do the same idea. One kohen, who's a kohen here? Any kohanim in the city? Oh my God. With the one only Shalom guy is a kohen. Who? What can we do? We should have some rules. So we had Danny Riddle get up. Could he be motzi everybody else, all the other kohanim? The answer would be yes, according to the Chazon Ish. Says the Beis Halevi, absolutely not. The Beis Halevi says that in the second source on the second page, it says, I'm in the fourth line, Amnam ikara davar lo nihira klal, the shomea kohanim shayach rak b'davar, the ein tzarich bo el amira l'chud. Aval birchat kohanim the tzarich kol ram, ki adam omer l'chavero, as we learned from the second Sotah, from the pasuk of Amor lahem, uvazeh lo shayach shomea kohanim. Hare aniyato shel hakohen hashomea, hare eino nishma la'am hashomim, v'lo odiv hakohen hashomea, me'im haya omer mifurash bepeh rak b'lachash, de'lo yatsa. The Beis Halevi argues with the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says, look, how does Shomea Kohanim work? Shomea Kohanim works, according to the Chazon Ish, is I'm mitzdaref. It's not like I'm actually speaking. The Chazon Ish says what? I am mitzdaref. I connect myself to the Shliach Tzibur. If the Shliach Tzibur is saying Kol Ram, it's as if I'm saying it's Kol Ram and it's all good. However, according to the Beis Halevi, the Beis Halevi says no, it works the other way. How does it work? It works that it's as if, like Tosfot said, it's as if what? When I'm listening, it's as if I am speaking. The most you can say is as if I'm speaking, it's a whisper. It's as if I'm speaking independently. And there you have another, very, very important to remember this. According to the Beis Halevi, normally Shomea Kohanim works. And it works as if I am speaking. However, we have another necessary prerequisite here in this mitzvah, and it's called Amor Lahem, that you have to speak like you're speaking to your friend. And this prerequisite is not fulfilled with the Beis Halevi's understanding of Shomea Kohanim. It's as if what? It's as if I'm actually speaking, as we saw like Tosfot. With this introduction, now we can start getting into what I think is fascinating, which is, do we say Shomea Kohanim even by the Haggadah? Can we say, let me sit back and let Binyamin, let Shlomo, let them talk. I, as a parent, paid $20,000+. Let them do the work. Let me go see some fruits of my labor, literally. I'm not going to say Avodas Park, but come on, let them go to work. Can that work in Leil HaSeder? Can Leil HaSeder work by me listening and somebody else talking? So this is the Gemara in Pesachim Kuf Tet Zayin Amud Bet, which the Minchas Chinuch is medayik here in Mitzvah Chaf Aleph to say the one That's how. That's one of the ways we're going to do it.
You sure we're lost?
Me. How? There's no more land by there. There's no more land.
So,
Back. We had a little intermission. Are we technically back?
someone know?
We back, Charlie, we back? Somebody give me some Coke also. What? Jacob's father wants to know are we back. Are we back? Oh, you're asking your father. Okay, good. I'm assuming we're back because I can see myself. Your mother says in and out. Oh boy, that's not good. It's in and out. Okay, let's try to get everybody back.
All right, from the beginning.
Now going from the beginning. Now, so where we're at right now, just because I've been told that we're a little in and out. Thank you, Charlie. We've seen a machloket. How does shomea ke'ona work? When I am listening, is it as if I'm actually speaking, or I'm not speaking, but I am connecting to the person that is actually speaking? We saw already by the kedusha that according to Rashi, you listening, and it's not halachically like you're speaking. Versus Tosos, it's halachically like you're speaking, and that's why it's a hefsek. And Tosos would say you continue your personal Shmona Esrei. We pointed out that by Kriyat Shema, where the Mishnah said Meimatai Korin et Shema Ba'arvit, you're reading. It's active reading that you have to talk. That Shomea Kohen did not work, and it did not work. The Yerushalmi says because you have to actually say it. And we pointed out that works well only according to Rashi. Because according to Tosos, L'chora, seemingly, it should work out fine. Because according to Tosos, Shomea Kohen is you are actually speaking. And if you're actually speaking, why should by Kriyat Shema should the mechanism not work by Shomea Kohen? That was one question we left off with so far. We just finished talking about another very, very important piece, which is all introduction to get us to the Seder, which was by Birchat Kohanim, Labriyut, is the idea of can one Kohen say the bracha of Yivarecha Hashem Yishmerecha, and the other Kohanim listen, it's as if they've said it. We said it's a machloket between the Beis Halevi and the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says it does work because it's as if I'm not actually talking, but what am I doing? I am being mitzaref, again, like Shitas Rashi. I'm being mitzaref to the Shliach Tzibor. I'm connecting myself to the Shliach Tzibor. Versus, according to the Beis Halevi, we said he views the Shomea Kohen mechanism like Tosfot. That says it's as if you're actually speaking. But we said, very, very important to remember, that according to the Beis Halevi, since by Birchas Kohanim, we have an extra requirement called Amor Lahem, that you have to say it as if you're speaking to your friend. That is lacking. You're not having that because even if I'm listening, it's as if I'm speaking. The most you can say is that's a whisper. You're lacking that kol ram, and therefore Shomea Kohen doesn't work. We started now talking how about the Haggadah. And then we said it's a Gemara in Kuftet Zayin Amud Bet that says, Omer Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov has a statement based on Zeir Shabbat. He says that a person who's blind is pater, is exempt from saying the Haggadah. Because he says why? K'tiv hacha by Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim Bavur Zeh Asali Hashem Mitzeitim Mitzrayim for this. And then it also says B'neinu Zeh, by which case? Ben Soror, or the wayward child. And Man Lahalan, by the case of the wayward child, it's B'neinu Zeh. It's got to be clear and salient to one's eye. And the assumption is that's excluding a person who's blind who can't see. So too over here, the Haggadah, the person who's blind will also be excluded from that obligation. That's his Gzeir Shavah. Zezeh, Bavur Zeh, by the case of Sipur Yitzrayim to the wayward child of B'neinu Zeh. The Gemara asks, is this really true? That a blind person is exempt from the mitzvah of Haggadah, of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim? V'amar Marima, Shaltinu l'Rabbanan, the Bei Rav Yosef. We asked the rabbis in the house of Rav Yosef and Rav Sheshes were both blind. And they asked, in the house of Rav Sheshes, who's the one who led the Haggadah? Man the Amar Haggadah and the Beit Rav Yosef. And they said, who led it? Rav Yosef led it, the blind person led it. Furthermore, Man the Amar Haggadah and the Beit Rav Sheshes. Amru, they said, Rav Sheshes. So we see that they themselves consider themselves what? Obligated. And if they consider themselves obligated, what happens? They're the ones who said it and everybody else heard it. So the Gemara goes in the back and forth. It's a little complicated. We're not going to go through all of it now. Because then the next step of the Gemara says that no, they're not really obligated on a biblical level. They're only obligated on a rabbinical level. Very, very fascinating how the Gemara skips from the Haggadah to Matzah. We see that there is an intrinsic connection between Haggadah and Matzah. We're not going to go through it now. If I was giving a Matzah share, maybe I would. But the bottom line is at the end of the Gemara, the bottom line is that they consider themselves chayav because they didn't hold of this Gzera Shava of B'neinu Zeh and Ba'avur Zeh. And the simple pshat of this Gemara, and this is how the Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah Chaf Aleph explains it, is that what? Can Shomei HaKoneh work by Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? The answer seems to say yes, because Rav Sheshes and Rav Num and Rav Yosef would say it, and everyone would listen to them. The only problem they thought is maybe he's exempt. How could they be saying it? The bottom line is they consider themselves chayav. And that's how the Minchas Chinuch reads from this Gemara. The simple pshat is that Shomei HaKoneh works. However, there's a Maharam al-Shakar in Siman Yud that says, no, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work, he says? Because, the pasuk says, V'yigarata levincha. The mitzvah, as we know, is Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Not leharher, not to listen, but it's to actually what? To talk. The Maharam al-Shakar is not on the Maharam Komos. So, seemingly, what is this machlokes? One could say that this is the same machlokes over and over again. That according to Maharam al-Shakar, how does Shomei HaKoneh work? Shomei HaKoneh works where I am like Rashi, that I'm just mitzaref to what? To the person that's talking, but I'm not actually talking. And therefore, here, v'garata levincha, you need actual talking. And that's why the Maharam al-Shakar will say that it doesn't work. Obviously, he's got to answer this Gemara. He's got to reread this Gemara. However, the ones who would say, like the Minchas Chinuch from the simple pshat of the Gemara, that Shomei HaKoneh does work, what would they say? They would say, like Tosfot, that when you're listening, it's as if you are talking, and therefore you would be Yotze. This Chakira could be that easy. In these 4 cases, you can apply it to Sfirat Omer, you can apply it to a lot of cases. But I would like to focus just a couple of messages, what I think are very appropriate, to answer up what, if the Maharam al-Shakar just said that, to give a different reason. Why we would say both, number one, by Kriyat Shema. Why doesn't it work? We had to answer up according to Tosfot. The Yerushalmi, how the Ritva explained that you cannot use the mechanism of Shomei HaKoneh, correct? Even though Tosfot says it's as if I'm speaking. Why not? By Kriyat Shema. And I'd also like to figure out with you maybe why you cannot be able to have Shomei HaKoneh by Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. What is the reason you might say that even if you want to say halachically, it's as if I am talking, but since I'm not actually talking, why would there be a problem of Kriyat Shema of Shomei HaKoneh? The answer could be similar to what the Beis HaLevi said for his reason. The Beis HaLevi had said that by Birchas Kohanim it doesn't work. Why? Because you have an extra component. The extra component was Amor Lahem, Kol Ram. That is used as a Beit Av, as a precedent. That's saying if you have something above and beyond that is necessary, that even if you want to say it's actual dibur, it's actual speaking, but since I was not actually speaking, there might be something lacking. What is the essence of Kriyat Shema, if you have to say it? Is the essence just saying the words of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad? Or what is what we call the Kiyum mitzvah? we know we have words. When we say words. If I say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, and Hashem Echad, and all I'm thinking about is March Madness, or all I'm thinking about is how am I going to get on the plane, and I'm not thinking about what? Mekabel ol malchut shamayim, I'm not yotze. The essence of Kriyat Shema is what? Is to accept the Ribbon of Shalom as my king. And that, one could say, even if you want to say halachically, it's as if I'm saying the words, according to the Gospel, Shomea is Kaoneh. I'm actually saying the words when I'm listening. Still, one could say that that's the Pshat in the Yerushalmi, that why can you not have the mechanism of Shomea Kaoneh for Kriyat Shema? Because there is no shlichut, there is no messenger that can actually fulfill my personal obligation of Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim. That idea, I want to apply that possibly and apply this now to Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. I want to discuss at least two ideas of possibly why. The truth is there are three ideas, but I want to keep it simple. There are two ideas why we are going to say, as much as even if you want to say it's Shomea, it's literally Kidibur. I am talking. Still, it's not going to be good enough to fulfill Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, which I think are two fundamental messages for us in Leil HaSeder. After these two messages, we'll summarize, we'll bench it, we'll daven. Okay? One could say, just like Kriyat Shema is Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim, one could say the same idea by Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. The whole night of Leil HaSeder, as we know, it's all about, Moshe is barely even mentioned, it's all about what? Re-experiencing HaKadosh Baruch Hu as my Melech, as we started off the Shiur, Avadai Hein V'lo Avadim La'avadim. That whole process is one of Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim. Just like we just answered for Kriyat Shema, we could say the same exact idea of what? Of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why the Maram al-Shakar, he said because of Vidin V'Yigadata. I would go a step further because the whole night, and specifically the mitzvah of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, is one of Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim. Now you might answer to me and say, that's not so good, Rabbi. Why is that not so good? Because the truth is that some say, Rav Soloveitchik himself said, that there's a difference between Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim and Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. That Rav Soloveitchik, quoting his grandfather, Rav Chaim, that's why we did the family tree before, for those people that were still online. Rav Chaim had to answer the question, why is there no mitzvah of Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim listed independently in the Rambam Shoresh HaMitzvah? Somebody can move this around so they can see their children. And if you're sleeping, wake up so your parents don't see you. Or just don't show the people that are sleeping. That would be helpful, okay? That would be very, very good. Okay, good. They saw me enough. Next, so So we had said that the possible answer is just like Kabbalat, just like Kriyat Shema, is Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim. So to Mr. Stiefel, we would say the same thing by Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. I said it sounds nice. But you can have a pirchan. You can argue with that. La Briut, Binyamin, please. We want to make sure that the camera's on Binyamin Steinberg over there, right? Binyamin, what's the pircha? Rav Chaim answered. Rav Chaim asked, why is the Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim not listed independently as a mitzvah? His second answer was because the Rambam holds that it is a mitzvah aseh to liskor Yetziat Mitzrayim daily. Answers Rav Chaim because it's not an independent mitzvah. But what is the mitzvah of Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim? It's a mitzvah of Kabbalat ol Malchut Shamayim. How do we fulfill every single day Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim? When we say Anochi Hashem Elokechem, what we say what? Ani Hashem Elokechem, Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Li'yot Lachem Elokim, which is in what tefillah? Kriyat Shema. Meaning, Rav Soloveitchik would say, Rabbi Kotler, your answer is garbage. Why is it garbage? Because that is the fundamental distinction between Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim and Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim, in its ethos, in its whole totality is Kabbalat Malchut Shamayim. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim is an independent mitzvah. And therefore, what I said, as much as it sounds nice, is probably not a good answer. One could, if you wanted to stretch a little bit, stretch! Not crazy to say, because we do know that in the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, we do mention the halachas of Bechira Yetziat Mitzrayim, meaning it is part and parcel of Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, but I've done enough gymnastics for you. I think the right answer, though, is based on the Avudraham. And this is what I mentioned in the Haggadah Shiur earlier on in the week, but I think it's not in front of you. The reason why one would say that there is no Shomea Ka'oneh by the Haggadah is because the essence of the night is not just to give praise to Hashem. But the essence of Leil HaSeder is to do what? Is to give Hoda'ah to Hashem. Both the Maharal and Rav Soloveitchik say the same idea in two different ways. Leil of the Seder is based on giving Hoda'ah to Hashem. They come from two different angles. Rav Soloveitchik in Hararei Kedem, Od Pei Gimel, says, why do we even celebrate Pesach? Why do we celebrate Pesach? What do you mean, why do we celebrate Pesach? What's the whole purpose of Pesach? To get the Shavuos. Perek Gimel, Pasuk Yud Bet, says that God took us out of Mitzrayim for what purpose? To take us to Har Sinai. Ta'avdun et Elokim al Har Hazeh. We're going to have to change Shavuos, no more of these cheesecakes. We're going to have some good succulent meat. For those people that like Carvel ice cream, okay, fine. But the Iker is not Pesach. The Iker is Shavuos. So Rav Soloveitchik asked, why am I celebrating Pesach? Or another question the Maharal MiPrague asked. The Maharal MiPrague in his Sefer Gvurot Hashem Pesach, in his first chapter, I told the guys, this is how I start my Seder every single year. The Pasuk in Tehillim says, Mi Malel Gvurot Hashem, Yashmiya Kol Tilato. I don't know about you, I grew up as in a choir. And this was a very big choir song. And they always had different, they had the bass and they had the high level, what's it called? The sopranos, what are they called over there? Right, the high level, Celtic, right? I should start there. And then Celtic would go, like way up there, right? Those are the good memories from my elementary. Mi Malel Gvurot Hashem. Who has the ability to talk about God's strength? Mi Ashmiya Kol Tilato. The Maharal says both on a qualitative and a quantitative sense, we do not have the ability to give Shebach to Hashem. Therefore, he says, how do we even have Leil HaSeder? How can we say, we do not have the ability? And he quotes from the Gemara in Brachot and Megillah, where they said a guy came over and started showering the Ribono Shalom with praises. Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Vanora, Hazuz, Hakadosh. Keeps going on with all of these tremendous praises of Hashem. And they said, that's it? It's as if I gave you billions of dollars in gold and you praised me with a couple of coins of silver. Chutzpah, both on a qualitative and a quantitative sense. How do we have? So what Rav Soloveitchik said about Pesach, the Maharal said about Leil HaSeder. It should be press the delete button. It should be stricken from the record. They both answer the same idea. The night of Pesach, if it was only just about praising Hashem, you're right, we can't. But the night of Pesach is a Leil Hoda'ah. It's giving thanks to Hashem for every step of the way, even if we haven't gone to the end yet. Part of Leil HaSeder, this experience, is being able to know how to listen and being able to give thanks. This is what the Avudraham says, why we have what we call Modim de Rabbanan. Why do we have a Modim de Rabbanan? We say our own Modim. My brother loves saying this part at every NCSY gig that he's at. He loves it because it's emes. There is no shlichus for thanks. So even if you want to say Shomea Ke'oneh works of Dibur Mamish, like Tosfos says, it can't work both by Kriyat Shema, and for sure it can't work by Kabbalahs, by the Haggadah, because you yourself have to give that thanks. I can't think of a better message to leave off the Chorev Zman of these two ideas. Number one, of what we're doing, trying to be Mekabel, Ol Malchut Shamayim ourselves, each one in their own personal way coming to Eretz Yisrael, to be able to find their way, to have their own personal Kabbalat Ol Malchut Shamayim. But at the same time, what else is there? At the same time, you have this idea of when you're about to go back to your parents, to be able to say thank you, to be able to realize that at every step of the way, that you've had the ability to say thank you. There's no better way to prepare yourself for the Seder. And this is what the Baal HaTanya says. The Baal HaTanya says that Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is not only a one-night experience, but it's every single day, every one of us. Chayiv Adam Kol Yom Vayom. Every single day we have to get out of our own personal Mitzrayims, our own personal limitations. I can't do this, I can't do this. One of the things I think that we learned this year in Yeshiva are these double messages. Because number one, the idea of being able to make our own personal relationship with Hashem, but at the same time, to give thanks to your parents for everything they've given you. Within that, to work on our own personal Mitzrayim, or Yetziat Mitzrayim. Good night.